Hi everyone. So today we want to focus on formatting our spreadsheet. This is the document that we were using last time in the video, and it's about the sales report for different products in different years. And the first thing we want to do, since there are monetary amounts involved, is we want to apply a monetary format. So I can select the cells that I want to apply this format to so that it can be displayed with a dollar sign. Now notice the cells are not next to each other. I can actually do them all at once by holding down the Control key while I select the next set of cells. To apply a currency format, I can use this drop down here. There's currency and accounting, but I can also right click and use format cells. This is the format cells window, and there are a few different tabs that you will have to get familiar with. These options can also be found in this home tab in these areas here. So we would like to use the currency format, two decimal places, and we are using the TT dollar symbol. Alternatively, I can use the accounting format, and I will show you what the difference is shortly. So I'm going with currency first. I say OK, and notice that both of these set of selected cells are now displayed with TT dollars. If I select one of those cells, notice in the formula bar, I don't see any dollar sign. It's still just a number. Now, what if I wanted to display in the accounting format? What should I do? Let's see, I'm going to select accounting this time. Notice that there's a little shift in the format here. The numbers are no longer on the edge of the cells, like here. Also, the TT dollar sign is aligned to the left of the cell. Notice there's a space here between the dollar sign and the 350, whereas previously I'm going to hit undo so you can see it. This is the currency format. The TT dollar symbols are all sort of stuck to the numbers. So we're going to stick with that currency format. Notice now cell G3, it's supposed to display total products, but the entire contents cannot fit in the cell. So there are a few things we can do. We can resize column G, and we can do an auto fit by simply going to this line here that's after G and double click to automatically resize this column to fit the largest content in it. Let me just hit undo so I can show you some other methods of dealing with data that cannot fit in a cell. So I can select G3 once more, right click, format cells, and go into alignment. Here I am going to look at the text control area. I can wrap text. So let's click on OK and see what happens. So notice now, instead of one line of text, there are two lines of text within the cell, and we can see the total products. So that's one way to deal with it. Undo. Another way to deal with it, go back into format cells, alignment tab, and shrink to fit. Click on OK, and notice that the text size is much smaller, but we can see the entire content. So sometimes this is a valid option to use. So I think we're just going to stick with just resizing the column. I can also manually resize the column. For instance, column H here, I'm manually resizing. And I can also enter a particular size for the column width or even row height by using this format icon here. And here I have row height and column width. The next thing I want to do is to take this main heading here, sales report, and show that it applies to this entire table. So I'm going to select all of these cells across all of the columns that would be in my table and use this option here called merge and center. So merge and center will merge all of the cells together as well as center the data. Notice now it's one single very large cell as opposed to many different little cells. So that's merge and center. You also have other options you can use, such as merge across, to merge any set of cells, and of course to unmerge cells if you don't want them merged anymore. I can also use the usual text formatting. For instance, I can select this cell and choose bold and underline as the header. I can also increase the font size to highlight it. I can also change the font color. Let's change to something dark. Right. I can also do the same for the data in the tables here. So I'm going to make this bold and I'm going to center it, and I'm also going to center these values here. Now I would like this same format to be applied for all the other years as well. So there's an easy method to do this. Instead of doing it bit by bit, I'm just going to select this column here. I'm going to use copy and I'm going to paste it here. Now be very careful, you're not pasting the values. Instead, you are going to paste special and select formats. We only want to paste the formats. And notice 2005 now has the same format as 2006. You can also select some cells and use this icon here, which is the format painter. So let's see if that will work. Yes, it seems to have worked as well. Let's do it again. 2003. You should really be able to select all of the cells at once and apply those formats. So our table is starting to look pretty nice there now. Borders are another way that I can highlight data in a table. So I can actually select the entire table. I can use this border button here, this border icon, and select some preset borders or even erase the current borders that I might have. But what I would like to do is to right click, go to Format Cells and the Border tab, which I find gives me a lot more options. So I'm going to first select a thicker border and a color as well. I have to select the style and the color first, and then I can apply a border. Now I'm going to change the color, it's a bit blue, and I'm going to select this middle border here. So notice that the red is all the way around and the blue is in the middle. Click on OK. When I look at this result here now, notice around the entire table, I have a red border, and in the columns, between the columns coming down, the border is blue. Well, probably won't be able to see it being blue there, but it looks blue. So using the border tab actually gives you a lot more control over the borders that you use. Another thing we can do is to use a color in the cell. So notice right now the cells have no color in them, but I can use this little icon here. That's the fill color icon, shaped like a little paint bucket, and select a color to use. So notice how the background of the cell is a certain color. I can also adjust the row heights. So for instance, I can select a row and manually adjust the height like this, or I can select a bunch of rows, and this works for the columns as well. You select a few of them and you can adjust the size of one and they will all change. Now notice when I change the row height, all of the contents of the cell seem to be at the bottom of the cell. I can actually change this. So I'm going to highlight my entire table. Notice we have this alignment area here, and you can get this in the Format Cells window as well. So right click Format Cells, we have alignment. we have horizontal and vertical alignment. So the horizontal alignment will give us left, center, and right. So I can leave that as center. The vertical alignment is top, center, bottom. So I'm going to select center and notice how the contents of the cells will now adjust and move to the exact center. So that looks pretty nice. Another nifty feature is actually changing the orientation of the cell contents. So if I highlight this header row here and I go to Format Cells and Orientation, I can actually drag my text so that it will go up or down. So let's go down here and notice the orientation of the text has changed. You can also use this orientation icon and select various types of orientation as well. For instance, you can make the text vertical and we'll have to adjust the row height to actually see that. But it's all in the name of figuring out what is the best way to display the data in your spreadsheet. So I'm just going to undo these various orientations. Another tool that I actually frequently use is called freeze panes. So imagine if I had many more product IDs and I start scrolling in my spreadsheet, all of the headers are lost. Well, freeze panes can help us with that. I'm going to put my cell selection at B4. So to the left of this cell that was selected are all the product IDs and above all of the column headings. I'm going to view freeze panes. I can actually select either just freeze the top row or the first column, but I'm going to go to the first option called freeze panes and notice some lines appear on my spreadsheet. So when I scroll now, scrolling, notice that everything above in rows 1, 2, and 3 remain fixed or frozen. And if I scroll the other direction, notice that that first column remains fixed as well. So that's a very useful feature. You can unfreeze the panes by just going back to the option here and selecting Unfreeze Panes. Now the last thing I'm going to show you is how to hide rows and columns. Well, I'm going to show you with the columns. Suppose I just wanted to highlight the product ID and the total cost for now, but I don't want to delete the data that's in between. I can simply select those columns, right click and select hide. And notice it goes away and the column headings go from A to H. The same will happen if you do it with rows as well. So I can just look at the product IDs and the total cost. When I want to get back those columns in between that were hidden, I'm just going to select A and H and unhide, and all of the columns come back. There are so many different ways to format a spreadsheet, so many different options. It's up to you to choose what is the best formatting that is going to highlight the data in your spreadsheet the way you want it to be highlighted. So it's a matter of, playing around with some of the features and see what they do and what looks best for your spreadsheet. So that's it for this video.